Good evening, everybody, and welcome to a festive episode of The Guys Who Stare at Stats. I'm Cade Kennedy alongside Andrew Santangelo. You're probably wondering why I have this right in front of me. Well, everyone, it is a special day. It is the 100th episode of The Guys Who Stare at Stats. It's hard to think, Andrew, since we started this back in August of 2021. We've come a long way.
Yes, we have. It's been a fun 99 previous episodes, and of course the big 100 now, which will also be a great time. But it's amazing how long and quick, how long we've come and how quick it's gone. I can't believe it's been 100 episodes and been over a year now since we've been doing this.
I know it's one of those, we go back and look at it, and I mean, I was going back and looking back at the first episode earlier this morning just to see, we didn't have anything. We didn't even have, we didn't have cameras, we didn't have a screen, we just had a black screen with the NWTV7, the old NWTV7 logo on it, and kind of just went from there. It was a little 15-minute just kind of testing out and making sure we could do everything, and now here we are. It's just fascinating to see how everything could change in just a year.
Bigger, better than ever.
Absolutely. But we have a lot to get to today. Well, if you've been watching earlier today, you would know that. We've already had our college football bonanza with Connor and I, and now it's time to go more into the NFL side of things as we get the calendar pulled up. I mean, Week 15, a huge week, of course. We've only got a few left, Andrew. It's hard to think about that. But getting right into it, the first one, tonight's game, the Thursday night game, San Francisco taking on Seattle, a battle at the top of the NFC West, and the Niners are 3.5-point favorites.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fantastic game tonight. You got two teams, kind of in different spots. You have a team not expected to be anywhere near here, and Geno Smith has led them in this position where the 49ers, down to the third-string quarterback, keep finding ways to win through that defense. And, I mean, essentially this is a huge game for Seattle, or both teams, obviously, but Seattle, you get this win, you put it into a true division race, one game back with 3 games left. I mean, it's going to be all hands on deck. Seattle's got the home field advantage here this evening, so I mean, and you got weapons all over the place. You got Christian McCaffrey, you got Tyler Lockett on the other end, you got DK Metcalf, and then unfortunately for San Francisco, Samuel got hurt, so I mean, I guess I haven't really officially seen it out, but I can't imagine him playing tonight.
I mean, we can look down
here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there you go. Here's your official out, Andrew.
But, no, yeah, so it's going to be a great game. I'm going to lean towards Seattle. I think they get the upset at home. They get the job done. Again, I think Samuel, I mentioned it yesterday when we were doing the recaps, I think Samuel is the biggest loss of the season so far for the 49ers. I think they can survive with Brock out there starting at quarterback. I don't think they survive without Debo. So, with that being said, I got to take Seattle here this evening. I'll go 23-21.
Yeah, this will be a absolutely just back and forth game because this is a Niners team that you mentioned, Andrew, is just continually getting roughed up by injuries and just keeps finding ways to win. To me, though, I'm concerned about Seattle's run defense. We saw what happened last week. Carolina absolutely torched them on the ground no matter who had the ball. Well, you're playing a better running back this week in Christian McCaffrey. Yes, it's not as diverse as going to 3 different guys, but I think San Francisco, this is one that I don't think they cover that 3.5, but I think they find a way to hold on and get the win. Just simple, plain it's always been. Trust your defense, trust your run game. Brock Purdy will make the big plays at the big times.
So I'm just interested what San Francisco does because I obviously had Samuel a lot where you can mix in. He used to run the ball a little bit too, where now, I mean, make Brock hurt you. If I'm Seattle, I'm stacking the box. You're covering Christian McCaffrey. I mean, he's obviously the focus here now, so I think they can get to him and stop him. And I want to see them force Brock to have to beat them with his arm. He's obviously they're gonna turn to the run game a little bit more now with no Samuel. And Ayuk is not. He's obviously a very good player, but he's no Samuel. So I like Seattle's chances here to find a way to slow the run game down. You're not gonna stop McCaffrey, but slow him down.
Yeah, it'll be a fun one for sure because I mean, if you're San Francisco, you win this one. You, not to say you've locked the NFC West up, but you pretty much have. At that point, you'd have the 3 games over Seattle with only 3 weeks left in the season. So we'll have to see what happens there. And then there are 3 games on Saturday as well. The Colts taking on the Vikings. the first game of the day, and the Vikings 4-point favorites in this one.
Yeah, this is a must-win here for the Vikings, not knowing. Well, I guess at that point on Saturday, I know what San Francisco did, but I mean they're holding on to that second spot where they had a nice lead, but they've dropped a few games now here, and they've struggled. Their defense specifically has struggled. That's the area you look to here, try to find a way to get the defense back to what it's been to start the season, and what better team to do that against the Colts, a team that has struggled a lot after winning that first game under Jeff Saturday. So we'll see what they're able to do. But if you're the Vikings, you need to find a way to get that defense back where it's at. We'll see how the Colts respond offensively here. But I like the Vikings to take care of business at home, and I think they cover.
Yeah, I think this is one that Minnesota, they're just a better team than Indianapolis is. The Colts have been trying to do everything this season. I think they'll stay in the game, first half, third quarter. They'll linger around, but when push comes to shove, the Vikings will take advantage when they need to. And the next one, the midday Saturday game, Baltimore and Cleveland, in a game that has huge implications for both sides. If you're Cleveland, you're trying to stay in that playoff hunt at 5-8. If you're Baltimore, you're trying to keep pace pretty much with the Bengals with that 9-4 record. Cleveland, though, 3-point favorites at home.
Yeah, and that's due to all the Baltimore injuries. I don't know, is there ruling on Huntley?
It doesn't look like there is
right
now, but Lamar, of course, is confirmed out.
Lamar's out, but here's the thing. I think regardless, I think Baltimore gets this win. Deshaun Watson's looked terrible. Baltimore's got a really good defense. I think they're going to be able to stop him. They're going to be able to contain him. I don't think Watson's going to be able to do that much against a good Baltimore defense. And with that being said, too, J.K. Dobbins, what a game he had last week, and that's going to be Baltimore's recipe, obviously, with a backup quarterback. And I think Baltimore's able to still get the job done, get the win. And I guess you can say it because of Vegas, but pull off the upset.
Yeah, it's one of those technical – I mean, we talk about it all the time in college football. Well, there's, I guess, technical upsets, but kind of feels like Baltimore should be the favorite, at least in my opinion. Yes, they would be down to a backup quarterback. I mean, Huntley we've seen before. I mean, who knows if they get to Anthony Brown again. But like you said, Andrew, that Ravens defense is able to keep them in games, and it doesn't matter. It's kind of one of those, the first three quarters don't really seem to matter when you play Baltimore. It all comes down to that last 15 minutes.
Yeah, we always talk about Tomlin. Where do you rank Harbaugh in terms of coaches? I mean, I feel like he doesn't get a lot of talk around him, but he's always got this team playing no matter who's out there.
Absolutely. I mean, he's got to be up there, I would think. I don't know. Trying to think. I don't know if I can give an exact position, but I'd say he's probably up there at least top 10, I would think, because of his ability, like you said, like Mike Tomlin, just when you're able to take a team that just feels like it's being wrapped together and just, Band-Aid after Band-Aid after Band-Aid to keep on chugging is pretty impressive. And the next one, Miami taking on Buffalo, the Saturday night game. It's weird saying that again, but hey, it's what happens late December. Usually not the most ideal place to play Saturday night game if you're Miami playing up in Buffalo. But the Bills are 7-point favorites here in a rematch of a game that, well, it had a fun ending the first time these two played.
Yeah, I think I read it correctly earlier. I think they're supposed to get some snow, which does not go well here for Miami.
Yeah, so that's at least projected weather.
So, we'll see what happens. I think Buffalo's going to get the job done. They're going to get the win over Miami. I wouldn't be surprised to see Miami cover, but kind of like you said, Cade, if Buffalo's able to get the win with just like San Francisco, you build that three-game lead and pretty much wrap up the division. But if you're Miami, you could win this game, create a one-game race here down the stretch for the final three. We'll see what Tua shows up. I mean, that's the problem. He hasn't looked like himself the last few games, and maybe even after that injury, he came back from the injury, he really hasn't looked like himself. And we'll see what they're able to do with the weather, but I'm going to take Buffalo to win this game.
That's what I'm thinking, especially with the weather. That's not going to help Tua at all. The Dolphins, anytime you have cold or snow or any of that, it usually favors the more physical team or the more run-heavy team, and that's Buffalo. So I think the Bills hold on. I mean, if you look at the Dolphins, then that'd be 3 straight losses. The inconsistency showing up again for Miami, at least the last 2 weeks. They'll try to avoid it a third straight week. And then the Sunday games, the Eagles taking on the Bears, and, well, it's 12-1 versus 3-10. Philadelphia, 9-point favorites in this one.
Yeah, I think Eagles got the job done here. I think they cover. Obviously, maybe Chicago's defense is a little bit to worry about if you're going to worry about the Chicago team. But, I don't see any way the Eagles can't get the job done here.
Yeah, this is one of those not a whole lot to talk about type of games. Just well, Philadelphia's the better team. At least we believe they are. They're 12-1. It'd be kind of weird to say they weren't in this one, but Eagles should keep flying away. So
Yep.
we'll see what they do. Speaking of bird teams trying to fly away, though, the Falcons taking on the Saints this week in an absolutely weird battle. No Marcus Mariota in this one. It'll be Desmond Ridder at quarterback for Atlanta. Saints 4-point favorites at home. And keep in mind, if New Orleans can win this one, they're still in that NFC South race. They put themselves, well, depending on what Carolina does, possibly back in second even.
I think Atlanta's going to get the win without Mariota. I don't trust the Saints team. I don't trust Andy Dalton. I think that this Atlanta team has been weird this year. You can rely on Cordell Patterson versus Kamara is going to be a pretty good matchup there. But I think Atlanta gets the job done going down there and finding a way to steal this game.
Yeah, this is one of those kind of weird games. Like, well, this is a weird game for a lot of reasons, but anytime you have two struggling teams like this, you make that change at quarterback, it usually can spark some life into a team. I think that's what ends up happening for Atlanta. And despite their best efforts to try to, okay, we're going to start shutting things down and looking towards next year, I don't think it happens. I agree with you, Andrew. I think Atlanta kind of accidentally wins this game is the best way to put it. The Saints make too many mistakes late, and it gets Atlanta the win. And then the next one, a bit of a tale of two teams no one really thought they would be here right now. The Lions and the Jets. What a 6-win Detroit versus a 7-win New York. Not a storyline I don't think many people were expecting coming into this season.
No, not at all. It's going to be a battle. You have a good Jets defense versus a very good Lions offense, and then you're going to have a struggling offense against a bad defense, but a defense has improved over the course of the season. So this is an intriguing game to watch on which end's going to be better, who's going to be able to pull off the win. I think it's going to be a very close game. You basically see there with the spread. I think it's a great spot for it, -1.5. Because I think the game is going to be that close. We'll see who's able to get the job done in the end. I do like the Jets here to pull off the home win and find a way to win. Because again, I think it's going to be back and forth. I do like where Jared Goff's heading. I think the Lions' run game starting to really improve with the 2-3 back system, specifically too with Williams and Swift, and then they mix in I think it's Jackson, the third back. You see get time as well, but no with the Jets. I think they're able to get the job done. I like the way Knight's been playing, running the ball, and I think he's able to continue. And the mix-up with Wilson at the receiver has been pretty good, pretty strong as well. So I like the Jets here.
This is one that, this is another, like you said, Andrew, back and forth type of game. But the more I think about it, the more I like Detroit here. They're still continuing to ride with that momentum. That offense is clicking right now. Jets will give them a challenge. There's no doubt about that. But with the way Detroit's playing right now, I like them to win this one. I'm a believer with the Lions right now. It's hard to imagine a 6-7 Detroit team still in the playoff race, but hey, here they are. And then the next one's Pittsburgh taking on Carolina. This is another kind of weird one you're looking at. The Steelers 5-8, Carolina 5-8. Both teams just flailing around at times this season. No one knows where Pittsburgh is going to go. Kenny Pickett is questionable. You saw what Mitch Trubisky did last week. There's some Steeler players, I know at least one of them has said, hey, if Pickett can't go, bring Mason Rudolph in. A little bit of a, not QB controversy, I guess is the best way to put it, but a little bit of a dilemma for Pittsburgh. And then meanwhile, Carolina's just over here with Sam Darnold. He hasn't lost a game yet as the QB for Carolina, so an interesting game here between these two. Carolina 3-point favorites at home.
Yeah, I think Pickett shouldn't play with it being his second concussion in like 6 or 7 weeks. I think it's better off there to give him more rest, especially being a rookie. You don't want to stretch him out too bad there. And yeah, I mean, Trubisky hasn't done much this year, so I can see where the receivers are coming from in that standpoint. Now, why not give Rudolph a chance at this point? You're 5-8 on the year. If Pickett can't go, might as well continue to switch something up. Obviously, you didn't like the way Trubisky was playing early in the season, or else you wouldn't have benched him. So yeah, stick with it. Switch that up. Go with Rudolph. And with that being said, this game's tough to pick because I mean, really, both teams struggling pretty bad this season. Which one's going to pull it out? And I got to go with the head coach, Mike Tomlin, and a very, very good Steelers defense. Even whether it's Trubisky or Rudolph or Pickett, I think Pittsburgh goes out, gets the job done behind a very good defensive showing and a very low-scoring game, but still always get the win.
Yeah, so this is a defensive game for sure. That over-under of 37.5, I don't know if we'll even hit that. This is one of those type of games, 35 would be a 21-14 game, something along those lines. This is going to be low scoring, and I think that favors Pittsburgh with how Carolina, we're starting to see their offense come to life a bit with their run game, but I think the Steelers' defense, like you said, Andrew, locks them down. Unless Mitch Trubisky goes out there and throws 3 picks again or Rudolph has a really bad showing, I would think that Pittsburgh holds on and wins this one. And speaking of games that are kind of intriguing to look at just from more of what happened last week, Dallas had an absolute scare from Houston. We talked about it on the show earlier this week, and the Jags are coming off a big blowout of Tennessee. Jacksonville, they're back at home. They're trying to carry that momentum while Dallas is still chasing Philadelphia with that 10-3 record. Cowboys are 4-point favorites heading to Florida.
Yeah, this is more of a tough game to pick than I was expecting. I think this game could go a few different ways. Yeah, obviously the Cowboys, you hear all week, you barely survived Houston, and they're tired of hearing that. I wouldn't be surprised. I think Cowboys try to come out and really put a showing out and show people who they really have been this season. But on the other hand, Jacksonville's a very good team coming on, and we talked about yesterday, coming on their own, finding their rhythm, and they're the home team here. So it's a pretty tough battle here, and even the spread only being 4, I think that's closer than a lot of people would have expected, especially day one of the season. With that being said, I think I'm going to ride the hot hand. Give me Doug Peterson, Trevor Lawrence, and Christian Kirk here to find a way to get the job done at home.
You stole my upset pick, Andrew. Gosh dang.
Hey, if it wasn't for the way the Cowboys played last
That's
week,
true.
I probably wouldn't have done it. But you got a really hot team coming in, and I like the way Jacksonville's playing.
I do too. I mean, Jacksonville's one of those, we've seen the inconsistency with them. Yes, they still had that game against Detroit that still seemingly came out of nowhere. But this is a Jags team that seems to get better every single week. They rose to the occasion last week. I think they will here at home. And Dallas, I mean, they had the rough first half. I think they have another slow start in this one. You can do that against Houston, but you can't do that at Jacksonville. And speaking of those Texans, they had opportunity after opportunity to win last week. They welcomed the Chiefs into Houston, a bit tougher of an opponent than Dallas, I would say. And Kansas City, 14-point favorites in this one.
Wow, I'm surprised that ESPN predictor has Houston with a 13% chance to win.
Yeah, almost 14.
It's a lot higher than I was expecting to see here. But no, I think Chiefs, this is probably your biggest blowout of the week. Chiefs take care of business from start to finish and take advantage of a very bad Houston team, and they clinched the AFC West this weekend.
Well, we'll have to see. I mean, we did say this last week. A lot of people did. Oh, well, the Cowboys should get an easy one to Kansas City. With how they did last week, I think they'll come out and try to make a point, though, and try to just run Houston out of town. I think Kansas City wins this one big. And speaking of those Broncos, here they are taking on Arizona. This is going to be a potential backup QB battle. No Kyler Murray, of course, in this one with his ACL injury. So Colt McCoy may get the start. He's listed as questionable as well. Russell Wilson is also questionable in this one. So we might have a McCoy versus Ripien QB battle. I don't know if we will, but if that happens, I have no idea. These are two teams that have not met expectations at all this season, but Denver finds themselves 3-point favorites in this one.
Yeah, I think Denver wins this game. They cover the 3 points. I think the defense is very good. And if you're telling me Kyler Murray's out, that's a problem already. So give me Denver here no matter who's quarterback because of the defense.
There you go. I would say it's one of those. Arizona's still not at full strength, and they have been for maybe one snap this entire season. Denver's defense will find a way. This might be one of those, it's 10-3, 7-0, 3-0. Who knows? Maybe someone might win by safety. We get a 2-0 final.
6-3 final.
There you go. Yeah, Big Ten football right here. Just old school, only defense, no offense.
Speaking about safeties real quick, Jets had a safety last week and lost.
They did.
Don't forget my theory.
That they did.
I'm going to pay attention to
your theory is the safety theory, the Andrew Santangelo patented safety theory. Do not score safety, you will lose. It will happen. And teams that don't want to score safeties, well, the Raiders, they had their own problem with that, I'm pretty sure, earlier this season. Patriots coming to town, and the Raiders 1-point favorites. They're trying to fight for a playoff spot as well. New England, they're still alive in that AFC East race. They're technically tied for third with a 7-6 record, which that's always rough, especially when you look at some of these other divisions in the AFC.
Yeah, it's a tough game. I do like the Raiders to bounce back, get the win. I know they had a tough loss, but that was on a Thursday. They had over a week to figure things out, fix it. New England's coming in, been struggling a little bit as well, a little back and forth. I like the Raiders' offense here to overcome a good Patriots defense and a struggling Patriots offense. So it's going to be an interesting game because this game could be really low scoring, which I think New England wins, or it kind of gets more high scoring, which Vegas wins. And I'm going to go on the high scoring end there at home for the Raiders. And Derek Carr, Josh Jacobs, especially Josh Jacobs, gets the job done.
Yeah, I'd say Josh Jacobs will get back to his normal groove. I think the Raiders will learn from their mistake last week. They'll be able to put their foot on the throat, put their pedal to the metal, and I think the Raiders find a way to stay in that playoff race at least another week with a win over the Pats. This next one, the Titans and the Chargers, two teams that really still haven't felt like they've gotten their act together at any point this season. Chargers are coming off big wins. Tennessee's coming off some embarrassing losses, getting blown out back-to-back weeks. Chargers 3-point favorites at home as they try to solidify themselves as one of the playoff teams. And if you're Tennessee, look out, because if you lose this game, Jacksonville is right there still.
Yeah, I like the Chargers here. I think they're figuring things out a little bit on the defensive side of the ball. A defense we expected to be better this year, and they had a really good game last week. I think they built off that. Tennessee's spiraling the opposite way. They've been struggling to blowout losses back-to-back on the season. I like the Chargers to continue to roll here over Tennessee.
I'm the same way. I think the Chargers can get it done. Tennessee is entering a bit of a spiral here that I think is only going to get worse. Look for the Chargers to put up another big game, and this might turn into one of those 14-17 type games here at the end of the day. It really could, I think. The next one, the Bengals and the Buccaneers, one of the late games on Sunday. And this is a Tampa team that just continues to not be able to fully put it together. They got blown out 35-7 by the 49ers. And like you said on the show, Andrew, at that time, Tom Brady looks mortal finally. He looks beyond mortal. He just didn't look good. Missing easy passes, and now you've got a Cincinnati team that is continuing to tighten up defensively, continuing to play better offensively. Bengals find themselves as 3.5-point favorites in this one.
Yeah, and Tampa Bay is only averaging 17 points a game. How that? Tom Brady-led offense, only 17 points, and that's with weapons like Leonard Fournette, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. It's incredible the struggles that this team is having. But I gotta go Cincinnati. The offense is too good. I get it. Tampa Bay has a solid defense, but they're able to do enough on that defense to score on them. And then Cincinnati's defense is no joke either. I mean, they're just as good as Tampa Bay's, and they're going to take advantage of a struggling offense. So give me Cincinnati to win on the road and take care of business and cover against Tampa.
Yeah, so this is one of those. It's weird saying, this is a Tom Brady-led team, and I don't think they're going to win because of that, because of their offense. But at the same time, like you said, this Tampa team just cannot get it together. They have shown no signs of improvement from week 1 to now. They look like they've only regressed further and further every week, and Cincinnati will take advantage, and they might blow Tampa out at home, honestly.
They might.
And then the next one, Giants-Commanders. We had a tie the first time they played at MetLife, and, well, if you're both sides, you don't want that to happen again, because I mentioned it, I alluded to it. If there's a tie here, the door is still technically open for the Rams and Cardinals to steal a playoff spot. Not saying it's going to happen because, if the Cardinals were to somehow win out at this point, that would be a miracle in and of itself. But this is a game where somebody needs to win to try to knock some people out. Commanders are 4.5-point favorites, and the last time these two played, it was 20-20. Maybe it might happen again. Who knows? I've never seen a 0.4 chance of a tie for the FPI from ESPN. I would almost think as a joke it'd be a little bit higher this week.
It's going to be an interesting game. I don't trust either's offense. I do like the Giants' run game a little better. Washington, top to bottom, is probably a little better. I like their defense as well better, especially if they get Young back here this weekend. But I'm going to lean Washington. I think they win a very close game, 21-20. But I think it's going to be similar to the first game. I think it's going to be back and forth. Eventually, going to have a defenses take over, but Washington takes a close game at home Sunday Night Football.
I think so. This will be a defensive game. This will be another low-scoring game. I wouldn't be surprised if it went to overtime again, but as much as I like joking around about the possibility of a team having 2 ties, I do not think it's going to happen. I think Washington gets their act together. They learned from their mistakes from the last time they played the Giants. No, they could have had a win on the road. Instead, they get the win at home. And the final game to get to, Monday Night Football, the Rams and the Packers. You know, if you would have told me the defending Super Bowl champs would be 4-9, the Green Bay Packers would be 5-8 coming into this point, I wouldn't have believed you. I would have said, I don't know what you're on. Please stop talking to me. Get out of here with your takes. But the Packers find themselves 7-point favorites, and Baker Mayfield will get his first start as a Ram. So all sorts of oddities in this one.
Yeah, I like Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay Packers to take care of business at home. Obviously, they get the favor there, the home field advantage, cold weather, and they keep their playoff hopes alive. A win would be big for them, especially if Seattle goes down tonight. That put them at 7-7. Yeah, we just talked about the Commanders-Giants game. One of them will be stuck on 7 wins, assuming a team does, even if they tie, they'll be stuck on 7 wins. And then, obviously, if the Packers win Monday night, they'll have 6 wins and be 1 game back. So I like them to take care of business in a game they should win at home against a Rams team.
Yeah, it's 24 degrees at kickoff. It's going to be a bit brutal, but, hey, that's how Green Bay plays up there. They love that frozen tundra. And I think the Packers do take care of business in this one. You know, the Rams, it was a good story last week. It was a feel-good story. But at the same time, I think it comes a bit more back to reality. Green Bay's defense is not going to let, 14 points in the final 5 minutes happen. But I think the Packers take care of business as well. But, Andrew, that is every game in the NFL recapped. Any other final thoughts on the week as we get ready to really get into the end of this season?
But it's going to be a battle. A lot of playoff matchups starting to find shape. A lot of big games this week. I know, again, on paper going into this year, we weren't thinking, the Jets-Lions is going to be a big-time matchup late in the season. But here it is this week. Both teams fighting for a playoff spot. This game's huge for both teams. Same thing, Jaguars-Cowboys. Just a fun game there. A big game for both of them. A lot of fun matchups this weekend. And it's fun. You get to get some Saturday night games too, and have some fun there too. But I think my Saturday this week's gonna be a little occupied with college basketball. A lot of good matchups in the college basketball world this Saturday.
Absolutely. I mean, it's gonna be a jam-packed Saturday. Just want to go over the standings here before we get on out of here today. Buffalo and Kansas City, of course, battling for 1 and 2. You go head-to-head. Buffalo has the win, so they're number 1. Baltimore currently at 3. They have that tiebreaker over Cincinnati again. Based on head-to-head, Tennessee is 4th as they are just trying to cling on to that division lead. Cincinnati 5th, Miami 6th, New England 7th in a 3-way tie between the Pats, the Chargers, and the Jets. The Patriots have that tiebreaker, then the Chargers, and then finally the Jets. The Jags, Raiders, Browns, and Steelers are all at 5-8, just fighting for their playoff lives. The Colts are still alive technically at 4-8-1. And Denver and Houston are already out. You look at the NFC, the Eagles already are in at 12-1, and the Vikings are 10-3 with that second spot. And then the Niners and Buccaneers rounding out the 4 division winners there. At 5th, you have the Cowboys, and then 6th and 7th, the Commanders and the Giants playing again. Whoever wins gets that 6th spot for now this week. And then Seattle, they're right behind them, literally just a tie behind New York with a 7-6 record. Then the Lions, Packers, Panthers, Falcons, the Cardinals, the Saints, and the Rams are all still alive with 5-8 and 4-9 records. The only team eliminated are the Bears at 3-10. So it's going to be a battle, Andrew, like you said. Should be another fun week in the NFL. But that will do it for today's show. As always, thank you for tuning in as our camera finally gave out on us. It's been running since about 2 o'clock today with episode after episode, so I will go to more of the audio portion here. As always, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe at The Guys Who Stare at Stats. And be sure to like that video, leave a comment below, hit that notification bell to know when we are on YouTube. And if you're following here on Twitch, feel free to give us a follow at twitch.tv/NWTV7 or follow us on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, again at NWTV7. As this 100th episode draws to a close, as always, we thank you for sticking with us. And until next time, have a great one, everybody.